Hello, back again on the Top Recap channel. This time I will tell a movie entitled Operation Fortune. Let's get straight into the storyline. The story begins by showing a group of mafia who are massacring scientists in a laboratory. It turns out that the mafia's goal is to steal a sophisticated weapon that has just been created by these scientists. The weapon is predicted to be able to destroy the entire European mainland very easily. 2 days later showed an agent named Nathan who was visiting the Minister of Defense building. When they met, it turned out that the minister would give Nathan a mission to reclaim the sophisticated weapons that were stolen by the mafia group. The minister also explained that if the weapon fell into the wrong hands, it was certain that the entire European mainland would be destroyed in an instant. Hearing this, Nathan agreed to the minister's orders, and they immediately set the strategy to start the mission. Nathan then showed a photo of his best spy named Fortune Orson. Nathan explained that Orson was his best spy, and when carrying out missions from Nathan, Orson never failed. Nathan intended to recruit Orson to lead the mission to reclaim the weapon. However, the minister refused to use Orson's services because Orson's fee was expensive. The minister suggested that Nathan use the services of a spy named John instead. But Nathan replied that John was now working for someone called Agent Mike. It turned out that Mike was Nathan's rival. In the end, the minister inevitably agreed that Orson would be his team. Nathan immediately went to Africa to meet Orson, who was on vacation at the time. Arriving there, Nathan immediately met Orson. Nathan said that he had an important mission for Orson, namely to reclaim the sophisticated weapons that had been stolen by the mafia group. But Orson refused because he was still on vacation. Nathan also explained that the sophisticated weapon could destroy mainland Europe in just a few minutes. So if Orson refused this mission, it was certain that all of Europe would be destroyed in the next few days. Hearing this, Orson finally agreed to take the mission because Orson's family was also in Europe. Quickly, the two of them immediately flew to Madrid, Spain, to start their mission. When the plane landed, 2 people were waiting for them, and these 2 people were named JJ and Sarah. It turns out that JJ and Sarah were recruited by Nathan to help Orson carry out his mission. Nathan tells if JJ is a great sniper, while Sarah is a very reliable hacker. After they got to know each other, they quickly started the mission to seize the hard drive from a courier. Orson then told Sarah to hack all the CCTV there, while Orson and JJ would monitor the courier from a close distance. Initially, their mission went smoothly until they planned to lead the courier to a quiet place. But unfortunately, in that place, there is also Mike's team, the rival agent Nathan. It turns out that Mike is also eyeing the hard drive. Mike's team immediately manipulated the CCTV that was being hacked by Sarah. Fortunately, Sarah immediately realized it and immediately told Orson. Orson finally realized that they were not the only team of agents in that place. Sarah also told Orson that there were currently 2 suspicious people who were behind Orson. Orson quickly immobilized the 2 people. After that, Orson immediately went out because he would catch the courier. But unfortunately, there were some of Mike's men had already caught the courier. Not wanting to lose the courier, Orson immediately beat Mike's men. After successfully paralyzing them all, Nathan immediately picked up Orson while forcibly bringing the courier into the car. On the way, the old courier had a heart attack. Before the courier died, Nathan immediately asked the courier for the hard drive because that was the only thing Nathan wanted. In the end, the courier gave the hard drive and said that if Nathan wanted to know where the sophisticated weapon was stored, Nathan had to pretend to be the courier and then meet the person who would take the hard drive. It turned out that the person taking the hard drive did not know the courier's face, so he would not suspect Nathan when disguised as a courier. It wasn't long before the courier died of a heart attack. Meanwhile, Mike and his group soon arrived and surrounded Nathan's car. Mike quickly forced open Nathan's car with a chainsaw. While inside the car, Nathan quickly copied the data from the hard drive to his laptop. Luckily, when the car door was broken down, Nathan had already managed to copy all the data. Not wanting to waste time, Nathan immediately gave the hard drive to Mike, considering that Nathan had copied the entire contents, and the hard drive would also not be opened because it used a password. After Mike and his group left, Sarah contacted Nathan and said that, inevitably, Nathan had to impersonate the courier. That way, Nathan could find out who the person who would buy the hard drive was. Suppose Nathan already knows the person who will buy the hard drive. In that case, it is certainly the person they are looking for because it turns out that the contents of the hard drive contain a way to activate the weapon. Without waiting long, Nathan immediately went to the cafe. He disguised himself as a courier to meet the person who would buy the hard drive. Sarah and Orson are also seen watching Nathan from a distance through the camera installed in Nathan's glasses. Finally, a man approached Nathan and immediately took the bag containing the hard drive. Sarah immediately checked the buyer's database. It turns out that the hard drive buyer is Ben Harris, a lawyer for a rich mafia boss named Simon. Hearing Simon's name, Nathan said that Simon was a mafia boss who sold illegal weapons. Simon is also the most ruthless mobster and is greatly feared by other mobsters. Then Sarah continued to open Simon's data details and found information that Simon idolized one of the American artists named Danny. In the end, Sarah has the idea to forcibly bring Danny to deceive Simon. When Nathan returned to the base, Sarah immediately took Nathan and the team to fly to America that night to pick up Danny. The next day, Nathan, Orson, and Sarah arrived at one of the airports in America. Nathan and Sarah would wait at the airport while Orson would get into Danny's private plane. Arriving inside, Orson tried to persuade Danny to come with them in a good way, but Danny refused until Orson was forced to show a tablet which contained a video of Danny with his sister-in-law. For fear of the video being leaked, Danny finally agreed to comply with all of Orson's requests. That same day, Orson and Sarah immediately flew back to Spain to bring Danny together with Simon. When they got there, they went straight to a party being held by Simon in the middle of a yacht. When they entered the ship, Orson and Sarah told Danny to approach Simon and distract him. At the same time, the two of them searched all the rooms to find information on where Simon kept his weapons. When Simon saw Danny, Simon was immediately surprised because his idol artist was now present at his party. Simon immediately welcomed him very well and then invited Danny to chat. Moving on to Sarah and Orson, who are still looking for information about the weapon, but they accidentally saw one of Mike's men who was also at the party. Orson immediately realized that Mike was currently also hunting Simon for weapons. Orson quickly told Sarah to install a listening device in Simon's private room while Orson himself would beat Mike's men. After successfully installing the listening device, Ben Harris, Simon's lawyer, almost caught Sarah. Fortunately, Sarah is so good at acting that she manages to trick Ben Harris. Sarah returned to the upstairs room to meet Danny, who was still chatting with Simon. Sarah admitted that she was Danny's girlfriend. Hearing this, Simon immediately invited Danny and Sarah to his villa in Turkey for a few days vacation. Shortly after that came Simon's business partner, who immediately invited Danny to take a picture. At the same time, Orson also came, who had just finished off Mike's men earlier. Orson immediately invited Danny and Sarah to leave the place.
Congratulations, team. A successful evening.
The scene moves to Nathan and JJ, listening to Simon's conversation with his business partner. From that conversation, Nathan managed to get information that the sophisticated weapon would be sold by Simon for $10 billion. But unfortunately, Simon did not say who the person who would buy the weapon was. The next day, Nathan, Sarah, Orson, and JJ gathered to discuss who would buy the weapon from Simon, because he did not find a bright spot. Finally, Orson was desperate to go to Simon's colleague's house to steal the data of the person who would buy the weapon. In the evening, Orson is seen at Simon's colleague's house. Sarah was also seen helping Orson by hacking into the CCTV in the house, until finally Orson managed to flow the gas through the air duct. After everyone in the house fainted, Orson casually entered the house. With Sarah's help, Orson opened the safe and copied all the data onto Simon's colleague's laptop.
I can control better. We have full access.
After finishing copying all the data, Orson immediately stole valuables in the house, so that when they realized, they thought that this was pure robbery. But when Orson was about to leave, he got caught by two guards. Orson inevitably beat the two guards. After successfully paralyzing the two guards, Orson immediately left the house. In the morning, Orson's team was seen gathering to check the data stolen by Orson. However, after a long search, they did not find a single name of the buyer who would buy the weapon. Sarah then returned to hacking Simon's voice recording, which was currently being contacted by his right hand. His right hand said that Simon's colleague's house was robbed last night. Hearing this, Sarah immediately checked the identity of Simon's right hand. Sarah then found information that Simon's right hand was a Turkish government official. The right-hand man will also hold a secret meeting with Simon tomorrow afternoon. Hearing this, Nathan ordered Sarah and Danny to accept an invitation from Simon at the party yesterday to pretend to be on vacation in Turkey. Long story short, now Sarah and Danny are in Turkey. Simon seems to welcome them very well. Here, Simon immediately shows off his antique car collection. Then Danny approached the red car and seemed interested in the car. It turns out that the car is a car that Danny once used in a movie scene. Because Simon admired Danny so much, Simon decided to buy the car. Simon, who saw that, immediately gave the car to Danny. Danny pretended to invite Simon to test the car. After Simon and Danny left, Sarah went straight to Simon's private room to hack his computer again. But unfortunately, Sarah realized that CCTV was being monitored directly by Simon's personal assistant. Sarah quickly moved to another room to hack the CCTV system first. Meanwhile, Orson and JJ are currently monitoring the movements of Simon's right hand. When they were focused on monitoring, Orson realized that Mike was also monitoring Simon's right hand. Back to Sarah, who has now managed to hack into CCTV and Simon's computer. Sarah then discovered that it turned out that the weapon Simon was going to sell was an AK-47 instead of the sophisticated weapon they had been looking for. Sarah immediately contacted Nathan and told him everything. Nathan looked very disappointed because they had been investigating the wrong target. Then Nathan immediately contacted Orson, who was following Ben Harris. Nathan explained everything and asked Orson to immediately return to headquarters because they had investigated the wrong target. But Orson was convinced that Simon was the one who had stolen the sophisticated weapon. He continued to follow Ben Harris. Ben Harris also realized he was being followed. Ben Harris immediately sent a message to Simon, saying he was being followed by someone. JJ, who had tapped Ben Harris's cell phone, immediately told Orson that he had been caught and it was better to leave the place. But Orson remained in his stance until a fight broke out. Ben Harris was seen running away on a motorcycle when Orson was busy fighting. Still, Orson immediately chased him until the chase occurred. In the end, Ben Harris took the elevator to the top of the building. Orson didn't just give up. He continued to chase him up the stairs. Arriving at the top of the building, Ben Harris asked one of the people there to be photographed. But apparently, Ben Harris put his cell phone in the person's coat because he had realized that his cell phone had been tapped. Back to Orson, who arrived at the top of the building. He was a little confused because Ben Harris's location was right on top of the building, but Ben Harris was not there. Then Orson looked down and found a man had fallen to his death from the top of the building. Orson thought that the man was Ben Harris, but upon inspection, it turned out that the man was not Ben Harris. Orson immediately realized that it was a trap for him, and sure enough, when he looked back, Ben Harris was ready to push him, but Orson quickly dodged and made Ben Harris fall.
That's Ben Harris.
After Ben Harris died, JJ immediately came and put Ben Harris' body in his car while picking up Orson. Arriving at the headquarters, they were all gathered to discuss Simon. Suddenly, Nathan was contacted by the defense minister, who said that Simon did not have the sophisticated weapons they were looking for, but Simon had a hard drive password that contained a way to activate the weapon. It turns out that Simon has assigned Ben Harris to sell the hard drive password to someone with this sophisticated weapon. Still, fortunately, Simon doesn't know if Ben Harris is dead. The buyer also doesn't know Ben Harris's face because they only communicate by telephone. Hearing this, Orson immediately considered impersonating Ben Harris and seizing the weapon. A few hours later, Orson met the buyer disguised as Ben Harris. When Orson contacted Simon to ask for the hard drive password, Sarah immediately changed Orson's voice to Ben Harris's. As a result, Simon is fooled and does not realize that Orson is talking to him. Then, Orson was taken to the hard drive password transaction location. When they were about to arrive at the location, JJ was seen following them from behind. JJ then went to a deserted place because he would become a sniper to protect Orson. Orson himself has now met the buyer of the hard drive, who has this sophisticated weapon. The buyer then asked Orson to enter 15 passwords for the hard drive and activate the weapon. But Orson, who did not know the password, immediately contacted Simon to ask for the password. It seems that Simon didn't realize it was Orson. He immediately gave the password until the transaction was successful.
Got it? All done.
Transaction complete.
But when Orson was about to grab the weapon, suddenly, two of Simon's men realized that Orson was the one who had beaten them.
This is not Ben Harris.
Fortunately, JJ immediately took action until a battle broke out. Orson immediately fled using his car, but suddenly, a helicopter came and immediately attacked Orson. Orson was cornered and had to be caught. It turns out that the troops who attacked Orson were Agent Mike and his troops. Mike also managed to catch the hard drive buyer earlier and immediately killed him. Meanwhile, Sarah, who had been caught, immediately fled with Danny. Not long after, Mike boarded his helicopter while carrying his captured weapons. On the way, Mike orders his men to kill Orson. Fortunately, JJ managed to shoot them from a distance so that Orson survived. The scene switches to Simon, who has just realized that Ben Harris is dead, and Sarah is the one who has hacked the system in his house. Simon also ordered all his men to hunt down Sarah and Danny. There was a chase between Simon and Sarah's troops. In the middle of the chase, Sarah made one of Simon's men's cars fall into the ravine. Then Danny and Sarah immediately rushed to escape the pursuit of Simon's other men. Back to Orson and JJ, who are currently riding a helicopter. Knowing that Sarah and Danny are in danger, Orson intends to save them from the pursuit of Simon's men. When Sarah's car came out of the tunnel, Orson immediately shot rockets at Simon's men. Shortly after that, Nathan contacted Orson and said that Agent Mike was not working for the government. Nathan assumes that Mike deliberately steals sophisticated weapons because he has bad goals. Orson then had the idea to go to Simon and invite him to work together. Nathan initially doubted Orson's plan, but Orson convinced Nathan that he was allowed to go to Simon's headquarters. Arriving there, Orson immediately invited Simon to work together to reclaim the sophisticated weapons that Mike had just seized. Simon seems to reject the idea. It's because Simon is still annoyed with Orson, who has stabbed him in the back. But because Danny persuaded him, Simon's heart finally melted, and he was willing to help Orson. In the evening, Simon leaves with Danny to meet the weapons buyer. Meanwhile, Orson, JJ, and Sarah are seen attacking Mike at his headquarters. Sarah also managed to hack into all the guards' communication devices. She made Orson and JJ immediately attack all of Mike's guards there. Back to Simon, who is currently taking Danny to the location of the arms sale transaction being carried out by Mike. It turns out that Mike will sell the weapon to one of Simon's colleagues who used to work with him. Revealed the fact that Mike and Simon's colleagues have worked together to destroy Europe because they want to make the world currency a mess. It seems that Seaman continues to interfere with the transaction. Meanwhile, Orson and JJ continue slaughtering all of Mike's men outside. The scene returns to Simon. With his intelligence, Simon manages to pit Mike and his colleagues against each other until they slaughter each other. And when Orson arrived at the place, he was very surprised to see everyone dead. At the same time, Orson was suddenly attacked by Mike, who was still alive. Orson, annoyed because he had been cheated several times by Mike, finally beat Mike, who was badly injured. Orson then left while carrying the sophisticated weapon. Orson, Sarah, and JJ went to Doha to meet Nathan the next day. Orson immediately gave the weapon to Nathan, so their mission was complete. Nathan was very proud of his team for completing the mission and defeating Mike, who was his rival. Nathan also gave another mission with 3 times the previous pay. Still, Orson refused because they intended to vacation in Turkey, considering they were now friends with Simon. And the movie is over. Don't forget to click subscribe, like, and comment.